So, we are back today to do a special segment called Meet the Experts. Alright? So, for those of you who recall, this is again a new series. The previous one that we've done together with Dr. D or Dr. Dmytro basically would be the 5x5 series, which was a very nice, I would say, snippets of all the information in bite-sized pieces, which is easy for us as consumers to digest.
A quick run.
Yeah. So today it's going to be a very different segment. Today the segment is more about you getting to know the expert in field who has spent many years of not just research but also active publication to talk about his passion, right? Which is namely three things, I believe. We're looking at things like anti-aging, we're looking at things like, for example, performance
as well
management.
as it's coming to the professional career.
And all of that as well. Yeah, and how does it all link back, essentially, right? Because, again, for most of us out there, we have certain mentors or certain gurus that we sort of follow for certain things in our lives, whether it's finances, whether it's health, whether it's wellness. So even within the wellness sphere, right, we want to make sure that the people that we're taking information from, have an impressive body of work behind them, so that when we sort of follow in their footsteps or sort of follow some of their ideas or some of their consultation, it will be safe for us in the long term moving forward, right? And that's the goal of this Meet the Expert session. So it's going to be very much casual, it's going to be a lot of a chat to sort of understand our experts, in a very intimate way, like how they started off, what was their journey. Namely because a lot of times when you talk about so-called experts out there, right, a lot of people claim to be experts because, they may have read, maybe a book or two about it, or maybe they might have even, watched some people on YouTube and got inspired and came up with their own version of fitness. All this is great, all right? But what is usually missing, I would say, is that when you go to them and they say, hey, I want to be like you, how do I do it? They will give you some idea of what has worked for them. But as we all know, every human body is different, right? Metabolic rate is different, genetic composition is different, right? And different profiles in our bodies. So obviously, what works for some people may not work for all, right? And that's the important reason, I think, why we need to sort of make sure that whatever we do is very customized, right? To suit our bodies.
Absolutely. That would be a right thing to come up with.
Correct. But for us today, what makes this segment very different is because we are not just going to talk about the theory, right, about this, but more towards the expert himself. Like, you must walk the talk. You can't just say
applied theory.
Do
yeah,
that.
We're going to talk about the applied theory.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly. So I think maybe let's just start off first by talking about maybe the top 3 areas of wellness that you are very much passionate about and you've been doing a lot of research in and publications on and doing talks around the world about. How would you classify that?
According to that preliminary discussion behind the stage, behind the screen that we had before, and the areas which interest you, and I believe that the areas which are pretty much interested just by the people in all countries, in all age categories, and of all geographical locations and races and all, are generally how to not age or that fast, or at least not to deteriorate while aging. So that is the anti-aging or the longevity science and the longevity part of the the biohacking or the applied science or bioregeneration or regenerative medicine. It's a very stretchable definition. That would be one, and then of course. Specifically a reversal of certain, maybe not even conditions, but states. Okay, when a person, due to natural causes and the aging and the lifestyle, of course, and the environment, would develop a certain. Well, it might not be a disease, in a full understanding of this word, but it might be a precondition, or a precursor of a certain condition, like people say the pre-diabetic, And nowadays, it's a more generalized word, which is metabolic syndrome, And then the metabolic syndrome itself, it does include a number of different sort of disorders or aspects of the human well-being. It's the cardiovascular system, of course, it's your metabolism in terms of the carbohydrates and the lipid metabolism, which ends up with, of course, the performance, whether you're prone to certain diseases like the diabetes, ischemic heart disease. And that also, after that, is a bit further categorized with obesity and without obesity. You know, because this is also a very important thing. It's like you can be moderately or whatever, you can be obese and you can still be fit, you know, or and it can be the other way around, you know, you can be absolutely lean and you can be unfit, right? So, yeah, so well, it's not the same, yeah, but it's what I'm trying to give the parallels. The certain hormonal states, yeah, which we consider, of course, to be physiological. We, when I say we, I mean people, right? People all over the world, both genders. We expect that we cannot function in terms of our reproductive system and all on the same level all the time. So there's going to be a decline. The trick is that in some cases it happens early, in some cases it happens later. And there are so many factors as it turned out to be.
Are you referring to andropause, by the way?
Well, yeah, including the andropause, you know, and the menopause, and the, you know, it's a whole bunch of different mechanisms, the biological mechanisms, you know, that ongoing in the same time. They overloop, they interact with each other, they are dependent on each other. Like the hormonal profile and the testosterone level is linked to the HDL, LDL synthesis, you know, it's linked to the resistance or sensitivity towards insulin, you know, so, it's a very direct correlation. It has been studied, has been published, you know, so no factor or no biological mechanism just works on itself, you know, in the body, so everything is extremely over-connected, you know, interconnected with each other. And thirdly, at least that's how it happened in my case, you know, and then I believe that it happens in cases of many people as well. Because a human being is such a being that we are never satisfied with what we get.
You always want more.
You always want more, you know, you always want faster, you always want more, you always want bigger, longer, whatever it is, you know. I'm generally talking about everything. You want a longer life, you know, and more fun, and you want to be more active, because you want to run faster, and all that stuff. This is normal, you know, it's normal desires, right?
But since we're on this topic, actually, I wanted to just chat with you. By the way, Dr. D is basically you know, one of the forerunners of studying regenerative medicine, and I think your passion or your area of interest would pretty much be about male rejuvenation, right? And just to say,
it's something that it's one of the areas in science and in natural science, in biology, in medicine,
which most people
in biohacking that I am interested in.
Okay.
You know, because this is important.
Of course.
It's a very important topic.
Part of our lives.
It's very important topic, and there's so many things that are linked to this, you know. But I can't say that the cardiovascular health doesn't interest me, you know. I pay a lot of attention to that, and bear in mind with all of that, having a surgical background, you know, and most of my career working as a surgeon and in that area, which is quite an emergency kind of medicine quite often, you know, and definitely it's not about regenerative medicine, it's not about anti-aging, although, frankly speaking, that the PhD work that I did had part of the regenerative medicine, but it was more like a reconstructive surgery. Okay, so it's not the same, but sort of it had the touch of doing a surgical procedure, and even the patent that I have that one and only patent for the invention of the surgical procedure. That was years ago, but it's properly patented. You know,
Yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that patent actually.
No, that's totally not interesting. It's more towards the area of the emergency upper GI surgery, but I brought the component of the long-term outcomes, you know. So it's not just you do the emergency surgery that would may have certain delay, negative outcomes or some adverse reactions, side effects of that particular surgery, but modify it in a way that in the long run it's better tolerated.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, I had that passion towards it.
Okay.
And then I was pretty much interested in plastic surgery and reconstructive surgery to a certain extent. You know, but then again, I was young at that time, so I was very hungry for more sort of like hands-on, you know, and really the kind of a movie style of surgical work, you know, and then I was really hungry for that, and well, I had that a lot, you know. My career and my fate in life sort of gave me that plenty of those opportunities. So I had like really a lot of that, enough. And it is also that particular moment when the surgical society sort of came, you know. It also coincided with a very insidious and very slow onset of aging, which I did not pay much attention at in the beginning, and frankly speaking, that beginning was lasting for years. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen over a week, it doesn't happen in 1 month, it happens in years. And you are so getting used to that, sort of, because it is so subtle, the onset is so subtle and so insidious that you're just getting used to that gradually, you adapt. And especially depending on what sort of lifestyle you have. You know, so for me it was always more towards the active lifestyle that I loved and enjoyed, you know. Due to many reasons, some of it partially because I was, since childhood a teenager, was fascinated with being able to develop some remarkable abilities, you know, or to alter your body or the mind or consciousness, you know, in some way that it gives you extra abilities. And I was not into the superheroes, I was into the real stories. Yes, so I was reading about people who've been doing various experimentations on their body and so on and so forth. And there is one of the reasons that ended me up following this specific system. I was in my early teenagehood, you know, when we did ice all swimming in winter.
Oh my gosh.
And then there were prolonged fasts for like 18, 19, with up to 24 hours over the Saturday. Well, some people went totally extreme. They were not taking fluid even, you know. I was not really much into that because whatever I was doing, I was researching that. And so even being just a school student, as a teenager, you know, I was still not afraid to take any book, you know, and read up more about that stuff, no matter how complicated the was. At least I could understand whatever I could understand, and every next time I could understand more. And that brought me to a medical university after that, and then sort of that passion for research and developing something new was always there, and that's why I took the PhD pathway, you know, after that.
Nice.
You know, so I've tried all of that stuff, and then we were combining extremely cold temperatures with high temperature, so you produce the heat shock proteins, and then various diet modifications, and of course then the bodybuilding and the martial arts, and the later part after the university. And for many people who go into the martial arts, that is sort of also a natural progression when you might end up with the Tai Chi, you know. So I did not go very deep into that, but one of my friends and colleagues from our karate club, he really became a master in Tai Chi, you know, and Qigong, and also I had an opportunity just to learn from him, not for a long time, it lasted maybe a couple of years, you know, but those techniques, especially the Qigong, you know, that I've picked up from that time, actually, I believe that it helped me to incorporate, or I did incorporate some elements of that into my personal method of, which you can call the anti-aging or longevity method. So when it's coming to a specific set of the exercises, especially if you are bound to frequent travel, or you don't have much time, or you have to stay in the hotels, you know, and all stuff like that. You know.
When your clock is literally always changing.
Yes, or you are like I was spending years, you know, in the flying between the conferences and all that stuff. You know, so I had to work out that system where I could do a very active workout and the stretching, you know, and the joints and the whole musculoskeletal apparatus sort of exercise within a very short duration of time, like 20 minutes. You know, so those who work with me, you know, they saw me right